You're in the right place at the right time, stretching from the distant spaceports of Batu, Tatooine, and Terrace, and all the way to the bright center of the galaxy at Imperial Center, slamming into your holoprojector like a supercharged nanoparticle of coaxium. This is the Star Wars Unfiltered podcast, and we're here to bring you your needed dose of Star Wars commentary. It is January 10th, 2024, and we have some interesting Star Wars movie news, as well as our review of the second half of Ahsoka, episodes 5 through 8. Jason, how's your week been?
Week's been good. Just taking care of little gremlins and trying to brush up on Ahsoka since it's been like almost 6 months.
It's been,
It feels like
let's
it.
see. I think it was early October when it ended.
Okay, so that's more like 4 months, I
Four
guess.
4 months or whatever. Yeah, I brushed up on it too because I rewatched it for my third time.
Mm.
Sort of my third, because when it originally aired, I had rewatched episodes shortly after they aired, kind of like within a week, like before a new one came out, and then I picked up on that rewatch, seeing the last half in November, but that was kind of disjointed. So last night, I had a lot of time, so I actually binged the whole thing last night across like 6 hours, and it's actually good to do that sometimes because then you can see how everything's really connected very well.
Yes, yeah,
And
I've noticed that about shows, especially stuff that comes out not
yeah,
in a binge format like Netflix likes to
yes,
do. It is different when you're watching
it is
everything
different.
back to back to back. So
Yeah, and
how's
not to get too off topic, but Andor was hugely improved even more by that method.
yeah. How's your week been? What have you been up to besides
Uh, it's
Ahsoka?
it's been fun. I got heavily back into Star Wars gaming and some reading again with the new year. I think it was because I had been reading and binging a lot of Lord of the Rings stuff through December, and then that kind of dovetailed, kind of getting back into Star Wars reading. So I
Mm-hmm.
actually read. I was just gonna briefly mention, not really review it, but like I read Inquisitor: Rise of the Red Blade,
Mm-hmm.
which came out last summer, I think, and that book was incredible. I devoured that book in like, I think it was like 4 days or something, and not every Star Wars book can grab me like that. Some, depending on the writing style, I can kind of not sustain an interest, but that one was written so well and the main character was so sympathetic. It was easy to just fall into.
Yeah, you
And
were gushing about it a few days ago.
yeah, and I think because the prequel era too, there was a lot of Clone Wars stuff, so it goes into the politics of the Jedi, and there's something about that era, and you might remember that too from back in the day when we'd read prequel era books. There's just something about that time period, that's interesting.
Yeah. Typically for me, I was always more interested with post Return of the Jedi books
Mm-hmm.
than Republic. But I know what you're saying. If you are interested in that era, then anything in that era is gonna,
Yeah, especially
be
the
kind of
stuff with
hot.
Palpatine's, machinations and the
Yeah,
fall of the Jedi and
that's
their
usually
blindness.
yeah. Usually that's what I really gravitated toward
Yeah,
with the prequel era books. Was anything
and
to
that's
do
why,
with Palpatine?
the Darth Plagueis book was so fun for when we read it a few years ago, because
Yes.
that that obviously is legends now, but that was
It might
able
as well.
to.
It might
It
as
might
well
as well
be
be canon,
canon. I mean, it's
right?
it's it's so deeply ingrained into the prequel movies
Yeah,
with how much
and
of it is
and
concurrent and everything. So
right, and James Luceno really was able to take advantage of all the media that had come out up to 2012, I think, when it came out. So it was like, about 13 years of prequel era
hmm
content that he could.
yeah,
And he was always good about tying different things together and making references to different games and other comics and things. So that was a fun book. But
yeah.
anyway, Inquisitor is an amazing book. I highly recommend it. It's very well written. I would say it and Lost Stars are my two favorite canon books that I've read so far. Um, but yeah, so if anyone's curious about that, or if they want to learn more about the Inquisitorius and how they became who they are, or how they some of them were Jedi, some of them were new recruits, but
Mm-hmm.
it really delves into the whole politics of that
Mm.
organization, which is fun. But yeah, I got that from the local library because I'm not really trying to buy too many new Star Wars novels. I'm either going with ebooks or library books these days because
Yeah.
space is a major issue.
Yeah, it's
So,
pretty much the same.
but other than that, I got back into my Knights of the Old Republic save game after 5 years since I played it, and I basically had to relearn all the menus and commands and everything.
Yeah. You're playing
But
it on PC or are you playing it on
I'm playing it
console?
on Xbox One,
Hmm.
which of course it's an original Xbox game, but you can purchase a version of it. Well, if you I don't I don't know if it's back compatible, but you can purchase a version of it in the Xbox store,
Mm-hmm.
the online store, and then that is upgraded. It was upgraded in like 2017 to have the highest quality shading and graphics and
Yeah.
everything. It's not like brand new looking, but it's better than the OG
I
Xbox
get
from
you. Yeah.
2001. And it's very fun. I there's pluses and negatives to that game. It definitely is old school where it's like tons of dialogue menus where you're just like reading a novel for like half the game.
Yeah.
And then the other part is just kind of getting lost and like maps that are just kind of wide open and you might turn a corner and just get obliterated by some wild animals or something and
Yeah.
have to figure out, what items to use and all that stuff. But, it's old school RPG. I think I'm 32 hours into the game and I think online people said it takes about 40 to 50 hours for a first time player.
Oh, so
For
you're well on your way to
I'm about
finishing it.
halfway.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it didn't feel like it because I only did like two planets. But the first planet, Terrace, the one I referenced in the opening on this episode, that whole tutorial planet is like a third of the game
Mm-hmm.
almost. So, or
Yeah.
at least like a quarter of it. So it took a long time to get off Terrace. But then once you do, then you're on Dantooine, which is Jedi training and learning more force powers.
Yeah.
And that's a long thing. But yeah, I'm finally off Dantooine. I just got to Tatooine in the game, so we'll see what happens next. But yeah, KOTOR is fun, but it's funny playing it. I don't have the feeling like a lot of millennials do, like it's the greatest Star Wars game ever. To me, it's just it's fun, but it's not the greatest game ever.
Yeah. That's Yoda
But
stories.
exactly. We can't go one episode without a Yoda Stories reference.
Always.
Anyway, so we got this Mandalorian and Grogu movie announcement just yesterday, actually. What do you think about that?
This is clearly uh, life imitating parody, and it is Star Wars: The Search for More Money, 100%.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
Disney's, this is how I see it. With Disney's track record in the past year, with bomb after bomb after bomb,
Indiana
and
Jones in the comfortable bed.
oh man, Disney needs a hit real bad, and
Real bad.
I don't know that anyone is super excited about the three movies that are currently on track to being made. The
We got the Ancient Jedi, Dawn of the Jedi kind of thing with
you know,
James Mangold.
yeah, which his momentum is fading after Indy bombed, of course.
Yeah, yeah. And then we got Dave Filoni's supposed to wrap up the Mandoverse
Right,
series of stories.
which will definitely happen, but my prediction is it'll end up being a Disney Plus show, unless the Mando movie does really well,
Right.
and
It
then
could set up a new trilogy of Mando
oh
movies.
my god, yeah.
But
And
yeah,
then
and then
the
we
Rey
have
movie,
which you had a prediction about that.
I predict it won't be made. Just like just like the Dawn of the Jedi movie. I don't think that. I mean, Lucasfilm's track record at this point is they announce a movie and it's got maybe a 25% chance of being made. I mean, I'd have to look at the percentages. It might be less as far as like what has
I
actually
think
been made from what they've announced.
it depends on what it is. I think if it's something from scratch, there's actually less of a chance. Like I think Mangold's movie, in some ways, might have the least chance of being made.
Oh, for
But
sure. For sure.
but
Because there's not an
see,
actor, there's not an existing character and actor attached to it.
yeah,
But that
exactly,
doesn't even
and
protect anything because we've had the Boba Fett movie, which
yeah,
didn't happen. The Kenobi movie, which did turn into a series.
which became turned into a really tepid, padded
We don't get to
series.
get into that. Um,
It's my Yoda stories.
D&D from the writers for showrunners or whatever for Game of Thrones, they were supposed to have a trilogy. That didn't happen.
Yes,
Ryan Johnson's trilogy, that didn't happen.
Rogue Squadron.
Rogue Squadron, that's not happening.
That should have been this last December.
Right?
Its release date. It
Right?
was
They had a trailer for it. They had that teaser trailer for it.
well, yeah, Patty roller skating in a really
Yeah, but
terrible.
that's really close to getting, you know,
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Right.
But you know what? Things like that, that's kind of like the announcements where it's, and even releasing that teaser, it's, or even this movie being announced, it's almost like they do these things to get obviously the fans excited, but it's almost like to appease the investors and to get the investors on board, like, hey, see how
Oh yeah,
excited
I
everyone
think
is.
actually now that you mention that, I think that there is. I think this is maybe lining up with some sort of investor meeting, but I'm not sure.
I think
I don't
there
really,
was one a few weeks ago because there were some things mentioned.
I don't really follow that stuff that closely, but
I don't
so
either.
so you had all that, and you know, the Rogue Squadron movie with Patty Jenkins. A perfect example is that Patty Jenkins was hot after Wonder Woman was great.
Or at least the first Wonder
the
Woman.
first one, right? And then Wonder Woman 2 came out, and that bombed. Or,
That-
or,
that
or
was-
it was derided. It was reviewed very poorly. It was a bad movie. And then-
That was the first movie I saw like after lockdown. It was like the first time we could go to the drive-in and see it. It might have was it 2021 or 2020? I think it was.
2021,
have
I
been.
think.
I think it was 21. But man, I was so desperate to just see something on a big screen that I convinced myself that it was okay.
Yeah.
But like when I really thought about it later, I was like, that movie
Yeah,
wasn't
so-
that great.
So I mean, Lucasfilm has a track record of there's a hot director or writer or whatever, and they're going to give them a Star Wars movie, and
Yeah.
then somehow they're not hot, right? They bomb or
Yeah.
something. They have
Yeah.
a bad movie, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, maybe we're not doing that movie. That happened with Josh Trank and the Boba Fett movie. That happened with
Yeah. Just like everyone you just listed. However,
right, pretty much everybody I listed, including
the
the Takai Wakiti, whatever the hell his name is.
yeah,
Um,
Taika, his movie,
was
which
hot.
I doubt will ever happen.
Right, he was hot. He got a Star Wars movie, and then Thor 4 came out, and nobody liked that. And then now his Star Wars movie's nowhere to be found.
Right.
So I don't think Mangold's movie's going to be made. I don't think the Rey movie's going to be made. Not that the director, I don't even want to try and pronounce her name. Not that she has a bomb or anything, but then she's
Brown woman.
there is whether or not right, whether or not she
The two things that matter.
is good, or that even what she has said in the press recently is all that actually controversial. The news outlets and stuff are picking it up as controversial, and certainly people online are kind of getting worked up about it. And I think Disney wants to avoid that. So the Rey movie might, under the director, I don't remember her name, I don't know how to pronounce it. It may
Just
be
call
the
her
greatest,
Charmin.
right? Charmin, Charmin, toilet paper. It may be the best movie ever made, maybe the best Star Wars movie ever made. Well written, everything.
What if it was?
But I
What
don't
if it
think
was?
right. I know, but we're not on that timeline. Disney is bleeding money,
What if we are?
and they want to avoid controversy, just like with the whole Snow White thing, because they had the Snow White actress come out and talk shit about the original Disney
the dwarfs.
white Snow White, and then the whole thing with the dwarves, and then now they've CG'd those dwarves into like actual dwarves. I don't know. It's weird. So Disney is scrambling
What a
to make
timeline
money.
we're on.
I know. Disney is scrambling to make money. And anyway, so my point is, I think the Mando movie is that. I think they are looking for a hit, and that's not to
Yeah,
say it's going to be bad. I don't even predict it's going to be bad. And we got John Favreau
I'm
is
very confident it's going to be
attached.
fun. What I worry about is that people have Mando fatigue because there's certainly Grogu fatigue, both in the fan base and casuals. It's not like widespread. I mean, people still love Grogu. I love Grogu. I'll be sipping from his coffee cup for forever.
Right. I
But
got a
but
Grogu sitting on my couch behind me, looking at me right now.
right, right. So we love Grogu, but there is that feeling, that sentiment that's been going around, and so I wonder if that could potentially affect the box
Well,
office or something.
this is what happens when um, you produce a franchise via committee, right? And then
Hmm.
nothing goes anywhere, everything goes nowhere, and then you strike gold with one thing that's created that was made by actual creatives, by Favreau and Filoni and stuff, and then Disney, all they know how to do is milk the shit out of a thing, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So that's what they're going to do, because Disney is not run by creatives anymore. They've run all those people out of town
more or less.
for the most part.
I think
And
there's people seated within there, but their power
right, yes,
is not what it
yeah,
should be.
there are creatives there. They're just not in charge. They don't have the amount of power that they should have. So anyway, that's what we got. We got Grogu shoved in every orifice of our body.
Including the title, including the title.
Right.
Do you think that title is okay? Like, I would think if they're gonna make a Mandalorian movie, they should call it The Mandalorian and then some other subtitle, or just call it Star Wars: The Mandalorian. It doesn't have to be different from the series. It's in the theaters. People are gonna know it's its own thing. So I don't know.
Um,
Mandalorian and Grogu.
it's bad, but they'll change the name.
Might not. I don't know. Because see, on the other side of the coin, putting Grogu in the title lets those casuals know. It reminds them that, like, hey, and you can already see the poster how much they're going to focus on Mando's helmet and Grogu right under him. It's going to be slathered everywhere on billboards, and I mean, they're really, really going to push the Grogu
Okay,
right
well,
before it comes
okay,
out.
this is my prediction then. They will not. They will change the name, but it will be
The
The
Grogu,
Mandalorian
the
and
Grogorian,
Grogu, a Star Wars story.
the Star Wars story.
That's
They'll
the
go
only
back
thing
to
that's
that.
missing.
Well, actually, they could go back to what they didn't use for Rogue One and Solo, which was call them anthology movies. It was going to be like what was it, like a Star Wars anthology, and then Rogue One, or Rogue One an anthology movie. I can't remember.
I don't know. I don't care. Anything that gets announced, I don't have a lot of faith in it being made. I don't even have 100% faith that this is going to be made. But
Oh, I do.
it's
If it's going into, if they are confident enough to say it's going into production this year, even if it's December, it goes into production. That's a pretty big sure
yeah.
thing.
Well, I'm
It's
not saying
coming.
I don't think it's going to be made. I'm just saying I don't have 100% faith that it's going to be made.
I don't
It
think I
might
have
be
100% in
99%,
anything. Yeah, but
but
this
it's
is a
still
high
not
percentage.
100%.
Um, that was the other thing I was going to say real briefly about the Ray movie. I think the Ray movie, um, the thing that gives that an advantage that it very likely is going to come out is the fact that at Celebration they announced it as being the first of these new movies, and the fact that Daisy Ridley was there to like co-announce it and to show up, and I think that obviously that's also to get people confident in it that it's happening by
It's
doing
not
these
going to
things.
happen. She's not
But
doing anything. She got plenty of time. She could go show up at the celebration.
no, she's still making movies. There was something she came out with just a few months ago that crossed my feed, and I was like, oh, okay. But I mean, do I
Yeah,
know what it
was it a
is? No.
fried chicken commercial in Japan?
No, but if she was smart, it would be with RoboCop.
Yeah, I love
Um,
that RoboCop commercial.
anyone, just look that up if you haven't yet. Just look up Japanese RoboCop
Fr-
commercial,
yeah. Um,
fried chicken.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, if it gets made, look, if anything gets made, I just hope it's good at this point. But
Just give us a good movie.
but I had to.
Well, you know me, I'm pretty satisfied. I'm very satisfied with the movies we've gotten. There's been nothing like it's really only been Obi-Wan, Book of Boba Fett, and pretty much and parts of Ahsoka that kind of like I was like, eh. But overall, as far as theatrical stuff, I've been 90% happy, which is
Yeah.
pretty
Well, okay.
high.
Willow was a tough pill
I
to
don't even. Let's not
swallow.
even talk about Willow. Let's not even. Willow is
It's
erased
it's
from my memory.
to me.
I'm begging Darth Vader to come into my room with an interrogation droid with a needle and just remove Willow from my brain. Just take it away. It didn't happen.
Um, and Indy was,
It was good.
I would not say good. It was serviceable, but it has.
You were more glowing about it the day you saw it. You didn't just say it
Okay,
was
look.
serviceable. You liked it.
Look, it was good enough. I will admit that it was good enough for me to see twice,
As did I.
2 days in a row, basically.
Okay, not that quickly, but yeah,
Yeah.
I did see it twice.
I was happy to watch it 2 days in a row. I was happy to watch it twice. I will be content to never watch it again. And that's not to say it's a terrible movie, but I didn't. It just had no joy.
Not
to
enough
it.
whip.
Not enough whip. Not enough punching. Not enough punching sounds.
But it
But
had enough Nazis. I brought Nazis back, so that's a plus for me.
yeah, but I don't want to get into it. But Nazi's not even my favorite part of Indiana Jones because I like Temple of Doom the best. So, but
Yeah.
anyway, my point is that I don't even know what my point was. Just Lucasfilm has a really poor track record.
We're
They have
going back
not-
to that.
They have not made something, stellar in a long time, right?
Since well, people would argue this, but
Theatrically,
I would say
theatrically.
I would say Solo, but that's not a popular opinion. So
It was that was fun. That felt like Star Wars.
that's what I'm saying, and that's why
Yeah.
it was good to
Yeah.
me because
No,
it
yeah.
felt like proper Star Wars.
Yeah, I tend to wonder how the original cut would have been, but we'll never
We'll never
we'll
know.
we'll never see that. But anyway, so yeah, I don't think the Rey movie's going to get made.
Okay.
But if it does, if I'm wrong, I hope that it's good. I just want things to be good. Let creative people do creative things. Don't try to push an agenda down people's throats. I mean, I know you can like insert ideas into movies and stuff. Every movie
yeah,
or every piece of art almost has some ideas put into it,
right.
however big or
right.
small, but it doesn't need to be, you don't have to beat me over the head
Man.
with stuff
Yeah.
all the time.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
just make something good. That's
Just
it.
make it good. Make it Star Wars.
Right.
All right. So Ahsoka wrapped up, and a few months ago, like we were saying,
Yeah.
and episodes 5, 6, 7, 8. And yeah, what did you think of the second half of Ahsoka? Because there were some huge things that occurred.
There was a lot of interesting things, a lot of things to digest. The biggest things were the the Night Sister zombie troopers.
That was fun.
Yeah.
That was really fun.
And I wonder if that's going to be sort of the the clone troops or the clone soldiers.
I think that's what's in those floating. Can't call them tombs, but
Right.
they almost represent tombs. But those containers
Yeah, it might
that
be
Thrawn was loading.
it might be
onto
the
the ship.
the version of that they're going to have.
Yes.
But then I don't know, are you going to have like, zombies like piloting TIE fighters and running ships or whatever?
Maybe it'll be some kind of hybrid, like clone / zombie. It'll be like Night Sister clones or something.
Yeah, it might. I wonder if they'll that will tie into. Well, maybe I'll save it for a prediction, right, for season 2.
Right.
But maybe it'll sort of tie into Palpatine and his clone thing and his dead body and all that
It
stuff.
could.
So maybe
We keep saying that for every series.
I know, right?
It's all tying back.
Yeah, not. Although I still hold out hope for a continuity reset with the World Between Worlds.
World of Between Worlds.
Um,
Okay, so it's interesting you brought up the zombie stormtroopers as the first thing. Let's not even bother with Anakin or Thrawn. Let's jump into the zombie
Okay, yeah.
stormtroopers. But while we're on that topic, it's I laughed when I saw them because obviously you know about that one novel that came out probably already 12 years ago now. I think it was 2011 called Death Troopers, and it was a hardcover actually, and it was about Han and Chewie running afoul of these zombie stormtroopers. They're trapped on the ship. I never read it.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously Legends now, but that title is interesting because then when the Rogue One visual guide came out, and there's the black armored quote unquote Death Troopers,
Mm-hmm.
Pablo Hidalgo almost seemed to make a subtle reference to the Death Troopers book because
Yeah.
he said something about how the Death Troopers, the black armored ones, have they're like cyborgs. They're kind of like not really. They're almost like RoboCop. They were
Right.
like killed stormtroopers that were then revived with
Yeah.
cyborg technology, and it almost seemed like he was subtly referencing the Death Troopers story. And it's just interesting that near the last episode of Ahsoka, when she's, I think it was Sabine, was fighting those two zombie Death Troopers,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, oh wow, this is like what Pablo wrote about in a sort of roundabout,
Right.
funny way.
Right.
And I don't think that was, I think it was just purely circumstance, but wow,
I don't know.
that was interesting.
They could have pulled
You never
it.
know.
You know.
You never know with Filoni and I mean, I know Filoni likes to pull things also from the back ends of continuity, but either way, oh, dude, the sounds they made too, like
Yeah.
the groaning through their helmets. Oh man, it was so disturbing, and just the whole thing was so fun.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So those, obviously, you know, Thrawn.
I finally
showing
saw
up.
Thrawn.
Yeah.
Finally, he came to the Shadow Council.
Right. It wasn't just the last 5 minutes of the series.
It
So,
wasn't.
And regarding Thrawn, my only complaint is that I feel like Thrawn would be a little bit more svelte. I feel like he would have taken better care of himself.
That's what a lot of people were saying online. That was kind of the hubbub.
Kind of pudgy. I don't know.
But you know what though? I particularly paid attention to that when I rewatched it last night.
Mm-hmm.
In every shot and every angle. I think part of it is the cut of his Imperial Grand Admiral suit.
I did
That's
think about
part
that.
of it.
I did think about that.
But it is also the figure. And the thing is, I was thinking, well, depending on the actor and what kind of diet regimen they might do for a series, if they need the character to be thinner or whatever, I wonder if it was something where Lars, it was something where he didn't have time to, like, over the months or whatever, to prepare physically, and they were just like, well, it looks good enough, so let's just go with it. Or
yeah.
he could have been one of those people who, when they lose weight, they get like really thin, and not, because Thrawn would almost be like, not really like buff, but like, you know, he probably would be fit with muscle, you know, and maybe, I don't know, I'm just speculating, but maybe Lars, maybe he would look too gaunt if he lost weight. I don't know.
Yeah.
As far as the face, though, he looked good. As far as the face,
dude,
and
everything was great. He's a pretty tall dude. He's like 6'3",
Yeah.
I think. So
yeah.
I feel like it was probably just the cut of the outfit.
Either
So
that, or on Peridia, they got some Krispy Kreme donuts like right there.
he's subsisting on Night Sister donuts.
You never know.
And you know, once he gets back into the GFFA, he'll get back into his Imperial diet.
Right, exactly.
I don't know. It was just something I noticed. That's about. I mean,
You're not alone.
it's in the grand scheme of things.
It wasn't like Boba though. I feel like Boba, that was particularly different than his classic trilogy appearance. I feel like
Well,
Thrawn, because
yeah,
we only had books and comics, it was
Tamora
more
took it.
like,
Tamora took it personally, and he was posting videos of him working out and stuff because people call him Boba Fett and stuff. I mean, he's like, okay, I gotta start working out and stuff.
right.
I feel like it was probably just the cut of his thing, but I mean, I was just gonna say that if that's what I have to complain about, it's like whatever. It's everything else was
Right.
perfect,
I
you know.
think he was 90% looking great. And the real thing that's important is the face makeup, the eyes,
Mm-hmm.
the hair, his presence, how he says his lines. It was basically straight up Rebels cartoon Thrawn, obviously. It still had that flavor. And his dialogue and the story beats of him planning his attacks and everything still felt like classic Thrawn. I didn't get like a Sherlock Holmes feeling on the show like in the old days, in the Bantam days, where he was maneuvering these crazy, intricate, things. But for the show and what we saw, I think it worked.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, everything was perfect. I mean,
Yeah,
aside from the cut of his outfit, but actually,
yeah,
that's the other thing is that they you could tell that you know everything that they were dealing with was wearing out. Even his uniform was
that
not
was
as crisp
interesting.
and well kept as one would hope
It was
because
really interesting to see
they
the
were
Star
stranded.
Destroyer. The Star Destroyer is all like cobbled together in sections.
Mm-hmm.
The stormtroopers have their armor's all like falling apart here and there, but they did those little, they tied the red, kind of, I don't know what that represents. It's got to be, it's like a stormtrooper ranking thing, like the night troopers or whatever. They're got these little red bands, tied all over their armor.
Yeah,
That must
yeah,
represent something.
yeah.
But yeah, the whole look though of their their group, because they've been there for 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
give or take. So it's interesting to see everything, kind of breaking down, and the whole scene where the Star Destroyer comes over the hill and lands on the top of the tower. That was incredible, and Thrawn's music with the organ and everything, like
Mm-hmm.
the pipe organ kind of sound. It was epic. I was very satisfied with how that was presented. I feel like I finally properly was satiated after all the edging
Yeah, yeah, it
for
was
5 episodes
pretty
or
good
six,
release.
whatever. Ah,
And
it was like Kyle Katarn getting a health med pack.
so like back to
Ah,
um, so Thrawn and again continuing Balin were the highlights of the show for me.
yes,
Um,
yes.
Still,
Your theory. What was your theory about Balin? What you thought might happen?
I thought he was gonna die, but he
Right, as
didn't.
did I, but he
I'm
didn't.
shocked. And
I know.
of course, Ray passed, so that's a huge bummer. But
Yeah,
hopefully, they can find somebody to fill his shoes.
or some way to continue with his assets, whether it's deep faking AI voice,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
a
if they'll do that.
body.
I don't know if. I mean, as much as we love Ray, I
It
don't
might be too
know.
soon.
Well, not that it's too soon. I just don't know if he warrants it, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't know. It warrants the extra
I
energy and money
you and I were
required.
talking about what they might do, and I think the combination of an AI voice and masking his character might potentially work
Yeah.
going
Well,
forward.
they probably should have had him become disfigured at some point
Well, okay, but this also ties
in
into
post.
where he ends up though, because okay, so we see him and Shen part ways near the end of the last episode.
Yeah.
It's either the one before or right near the end. And he kind of like says, "We have a different path. You're meant to go with this way, and I'm seeking a higher power." Basically, he seemed to be seeking that on Peridia. That was his goal. Like once he
Yeah.
scanned the area. Now, did you see or read any of the things in regards to the statues he's standing on near the end?
Uh, I mean, I didn't really have to. They look like the Mortis gods.
Okay, They are. It's
Right.
like not. It's
Yeah.
not even like they look like they fully are.
No,
But
of
what's
course they are.
interesting,
I don't know how anybody could interpret it any other
right?
way. I mean,
Right. It's not
even
like you see part of one.
even
You
I
know,
I
it's
haven't I still have not finished the entire Clone Wars cartoon series, but from the little bit that they were in uh the Rebel series, right? Because they were
Mhm.
in the Rebel series a little bit, or
Yeah, a
referenced
little bit.
a little
Yeah,
bit.
when they, yeah,
I know I'm aware of them enough to see those statues and be like, okay, those are the Mortis gods. It makes sense his motivate. I mean, still don't know what his motivation is exactly,
yeah,
but kind of paints a little bit of a clearer picture of what he's
what he's
after.
seeking,
Yeah.
right? Now, what's interesting also is the statue of the daughter. The head, the face is missing, or the head, basically above the shoulders. And people were asking, what does that represent? Is Ahsoka, going to take her place, as the daughter, like while they're on Peridia? Um, so that it could be interesting going forward. What happens? Because obviously Ahsoka and Sabine and Ezra are still stuck there after
Hmm.
their ship was damaged. But beyond that, I mean, they kind of repaired the ship. The problem is they don't have a powerful hyperdrive or the correct coordinates that could even get them back to the galaxy. I would think they would need something as big as the Eye of Sion, I think, to even get there no
Oh,
matter what.
geez, we all know the whales are going to come back and save them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think what'll probably happen is, and we could speculate about season 2 now if we want to, but what I think is going to happen is that Ezra is going to be like, I can speak space whale, and then they'll just, well, he'll have to come back for them
That
on a
is
space whale.
that is exactly what I anticipate to happen. Is that he'll be like,
Yes,
I can talk to space whales,
it's
fine,
with that line too. He'll say it like that,
right?
and but I think that was the key thing, which is
No, no, no,
Ezra
no,
getting
no. This
away.
is what's going to happen. They'll be like, how do we contact them? And he'll be like, we just call them, and he'll smile, and it'll cut away to something. He'll like wink or smile at
Right,
and then cut away. It'll be
one eight
some
hundred call collect.
right.
Yeah, but obviously Ezra's the key. But I think I would guess that because of Balin and his character and his possible connection to Peridia, I would think that most of season 2, as far as those characters, could just be on Peridia for most of the season. And I think
Might
the whole thing would be how they get off
might
and
might that
back.
mean John, that maybe Luke and or Leia would have to do something when Thrawn shows up
I would
in the
think,
galaxy.
but now after Luke not is showing up and Leia sending 3PO to, you know, get Hera out of trouble on Coruscant, maybe we won't see CG Luke or Leia or Han. I was pretty confident of that going in because of Book of Boba Fett. And,
I know. I
but
thought
they
I
did it
thought just a
there.
cameo or
Uh,
something.
I thought a one episode thing maybe near the end. But, well, there's still the World Between Worlds. Let's talk about that. That
oh,
was
yeah.
that's where
I
we
don't
left
know.
off. That was episode
I don't
5.
know. I don't. Okay, so our frame of reference is like, you know, in the past, like Obi-Wan shows up as a Force ghost, and he just talks to Luke, and they just have a conversation, right? It's like they just talk, you know.
Right.
Um, but in the World Between Worlds, it's kind of nebulous. You can't even tell, like, is that really Anakin? Is it an
Yeah.
echo of Anakin? Is
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 it the
it
Force
is it just the
manifesting?
Force? Right. Is it the Force manifesting? Is it Ahsoka's own subconscious manifesting and
It
processing
took my
something?
third viewing before I finally basically unlocked what it was.
Oh,
And it
you
was
unlocked it. Okay. What
I
is it?
did. I did. It was really stupid how simple it is. It is Ahsoka's unconscious, like in the Force, manifesting as Anakin, because the whole you don't really notice it like the first time you see it because it's like, oh, then at the end of the episode they pull her out of the water. But the whole time Anakin, the lesson is you have to fight to live. Fight,
Mm-hmm.
fight, fight. that's the lesson. And it's like, okay, you didn't get it. Let's go back even more. You're not learning it. And then, of course, that's all she's doing. She's fighting to keep her body alive in the water so that they have time to find her. That's
Right.
it. It was as simple as that. But I think the way it was written and framed were meant to think about what else it could be. But I think it really was just that simple answer. It was it was her untangling her thoughts about Anakin. So it was other things too. It was
Right.
her integrating what she thinks about Anakin and what he became, but it was also her unconscious telling her to not die.
Well, and having to deal with like that's part of her lineage as far as a Jedi
Yeah.
is. I'm
Yeah, so it was multi-level.
I'm really glad that that's how you interpret it, because it was very frustrating watching it with the seeming implication that that's like Anakin, but in no way does that does it ever come off as actually being Anakin, because it's like they would have a conversation. That's how this stuff
exactly
happens.
And I think at the end,
it is interesting though that it all takes place in the world between worlds. So
it is, and I think that was the thing. It was because she had already kind of been there with Ezra back in Rebels, so she's kind of remembering, hey, I've been here before.
Yeah.
It was a weird, forced nexus or something. But then, so at the end of the episode, when Sabine is like, oh, I thought I saw something in sunlight or shadow of moonlight or something, and then Ahsoka, and then like it shows Anakin's ghost watching over them on Peridea at the end. That was actually Anakin.
Oh yeah. Well,
that was clear because you see the shimmer, and it's Return of the Jedi Special Edition Anakin.
Well, I wouldn't expect. I wouldn't expect.
It wasn't Sebastian Shaw.
Right. I wouldn't expect Anakin, if he's gonna visit her as a Force ghost, would start like, slipping into his Vaderisms and stuff, as
Remember
they do
the boat times. Yeah.
Stuff like that. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Because then you have to unpack all that stuff and dialogue, and I think it worked better having the scene the way it was. I remember like watching that and just being like, whoa, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Just everything about it.
Speaking of that, although I will wrap up the World Between Worlds segment saying that I forgot what I was going to say. I totally forgot what I was going to say about the world.
Well, let me say another thing that might jog your memory, possibly. But I was going to also mention, I was unsure of how Anakin looked at the teaser of the end of the previous episode, because you only briefly see his face, and he says like Ahsoka or Snips or whatever. But once you see the full thing, and I still don't know if they deep faked or just did makeup. I don't know what it was, but he looked great.
Oh, I'm sure they did I'm sure they did some CG.
It was probably
de-aging.
CG, but whatever method they used, it straight up looked like Hayden in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, it did look a lot better.
It was great. So
I do know what I was going to say. I liked it. My only the only thing I didn't like is that it didn't reset the continuity right then and there. Anytime they go in there, I'm like, okay, you're going to do it, right? You're going to reset the continuity, but then they don't do it. So still waiting.
No.
Anyway, what I was going to say after that was, speaking of, you implied like an exposition dump type thing explaining what's going on. Something that has been bothering me since finishing the series, and I was thinking about it the other night too, and this goes back to a big problem I had with Star Trek Into the Darkness. It's the same problem where you have this character, this villain, right? In that instance, it was Khan. In this instance, it's Thrawn.
Rhyme.
Right, exactly.
The Wrath of Thrawn.
It rhymes. It's poetry. They're an existing character from an old continuity that is now in a new continuity, but the writers for the new continuity are not doing the heavy lifting of writing, like conveying to the audience or even the characters in the new continuity why that villain is such a big deal, right? Like in Star Trek, it's like, oh, it's Khan, and then even in that, they had to use like Prime Spock explaining to to Kirk and
Mm-hmm.
Kelvin Spock, like, Khan's a big deal because of this, and we got all this
Right.
back history.
Right.
And then with Thrawn, like, we know he's a big deal because of the Banta books,
Mm-hmm.
the legends, and then also like, reading the books, the new continuity books, and then Rebels and stuff. But for
Mm-hmm.
most people watching Ahsoka, I'm gonna guess most people, certainly the casuals and stuff, they don't know, right?
They don't. They don't. And that was the only character who kept conveying that was Hera.
Right, but it's just like, oh, Thrawn's a big deal, Thrawn's a big deal. But and that's fine that she says that, but it's never, nobody ever explains it. And I'm not saying they have to do an exposition dump or whatever, but they need to, within these series, like, build up why he's such a big deal. Even in that little teaser with the Shadow Council, I mean, maybe they don't have to do anything there, right? Because they just sort of mentioned Thrawn and like, oh, I'm waiting for Thrawn, he's a big deal. But I feel like they have to kind of relay that groundwork for these live action shows, because it's kind of a big ask for people to have people like go read books or watch
Yeah.
cartoons, like a couple
Yeah.
seasons of a cartoon, um, to understand why he's a big deal. Maybe I'm wrong though,
I think, in my
because
opinion, Hera's comments, the way she dealt with the New Republic bureaucracy and Mon Mothma and all that, I think it was enough to get that across, but it's hard for me to see that objectively because I already know.
But see how that should have been conveyed in when she's dealing with the New Republic uh, politicians and stuff. It should have been like, oh yeah, Thrawn would be a big deal, but there's no effing way he's coming back. Like there's no indication he's really coming back. They should be like, oh yeah, if he did come back, we would shit our pants.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we would be completely effed. But
I think Mon Mothma cares. I think Mon Mothma would think that, but obviously I think what
yeah,
they're
but Mon Mothma cares about everything.
that's true. She's overly empathetic.
Yeah.
She's the caring mother.
Yeah.
But I think what they're doing is they're building up the fact that the bureaucracy is stagnant and that no one cares, so that then when something happens big, like in season 2, it'll sideswipe everybody and really knock them sideways.
Yeah, maybe.
I
That's the
guess.
thing. I could be wrong. I could be overthinking it too. Like, the reason it bothers me is because I know the backstory, and then when I don't get like
It's
a
hard for
retreading,
you and I to pull back and see this how as
right?
newbies do.
Because
It's
when you're
really hard.
watching Star Wars, you don't like Palpatine's like, he's the Emperor. Okay, well, he's the Emperor, so
So what?
so what? He's the Emperor, but he's the Emperor. He's the guy in charge, so he's the big bad. But then we don't even know that, like, he's got force
What?
powers and stuff at the end. But like Thrawn's not going to pull that out, right? He's not going to start
Right.
shooting lightning out of his
Right.
fingertips all of a sudden.
I didn't really appreciate Palpatine until the prequels. Like that's when I was like around the time of Phantom Menace, as they started doing post Phantom Menace books and stuff. Then I was like, oh, this is you really got to see how he got his fingers and everything. But yeah, it could just be like with Thrawn. You and I, these books they go into our personal fandom so many years now.
Yeah,
It's really hard to separate
just
ourselves.
I feel like I would like to see people shitting their pants a little bit more. But it just seems like it's overly dismissive. Even the Shadow Council, like, Gideon's like, well, where's Thrawn? Like, when's he gonna show up? Like, okay, but he's not here, so whatever. Like, it's not like,
Yeah.
oh well, that would be a big deal if
Right.
he's here.
Right.
They just don't. I don't know, because Thrawn does have he does have a quote unquote superpower, right? He is super dangerous because he's
His smarts.
he's such a good tactician.
Yeah.
But they just have not conveyed that in the series. And they totally could be setting that up for season 2 where like he comes, I could totally see it. And this is maybe this is a prediction, but I could totally see him coming and like coming up against opposition with parts of the Remnant having to deal with them and like just completely
Their politics.
blowing them the fuck out,
Yeah.
with like
Yeah.
limited resources and stuff, and
Right.
showing like why he's such a big threat. Even in
I
the
think.
original trilogy, Thrawn trilogy, it was not just Thrawn. It was going to be his access to the Katana fleet and the cloned soldiers and stuff with the Sparty cloning cylinders. So there was other things, and
Yeah.
that's kind of there with the Night Sisters. He's got Force users, he's got zombie troopers and stuff. It's just not conveyed in a way that's like this is a big deal to me. It's not, but again, it could be an understatement. And then season 2, and then whatever eventuality movies, the Mando season 4, stuff like that might deal more with building up.
I suspect that's what's going to happen. But again, I can't say. No one can say. We'll be able to have a clearer picture by season 2 for sure, or even when Skeleton Crew comes out, presumably this year because it was delayed from last year. That is also part of the Mandoverse.
Mm-hmm.
So it might even tangentially connect to Ahsoka.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It'd be funny if Luke shows up in Skeleton Crew, but not on Ahsoka.
He'll show up in everything, but how about this? Here's my prediction: Shin is this Thrawn series Mara Jade, and Luke is gonna hook up with her.
She'll be the secret.
Why did you laugh like that? Oh, the hand. Yeah, Luke's getting the hand.
Well, I was thinking. I thought it was funny because like when the trailer first dropped, like early last spring, everyone's like, "Oh, that's the new Mara Jade," or they even thought it was Mara initially.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, I had no notion that Mara would show up. So that wasn't even on my radar. That's funny.
Yeah, but people quickly dispelled that, and they're like, no, it's not her. But I remember that thought did cross my mind when I saw her use the lightsaber, and I was like, who's this chick, in the trailer? But
and then she is the woman buried in the grave that Luke's standing at the end of The Force Awakens, because it's a little headstone there. I still contend that was JJ's intention.
Are you talking about on Octo?
Yeah, on Octo. When
I can't even remember.
When
There's
Rey,
a headstone there.
When Rey goes up, and
it's one of those shots where she's walking up the steps, right?
Yeah,
and it's like
there's
off
a
to
little
the side.
He's like standing there, and it's not obviously a grave, but there's a little like flat stone,
Mara's
like standing up in the dirt. And to me, when I first saw that, I was like, "Oh, that's a grave. That maybe like Rey's his daughter, and that was like his wife." I still think that was probably JJ's intention. Not that he even had an intention really. It was probably just I'll just put this there, and I won't say it is, but maybe
it's a mystery tomb.
It's a black box. It's a mystery box.
Yeah.
For Rian Johnson to rape, but so that's Shin. This is right when we would
that's an ET ouch right there. Damn.
No, this is when we insert the Rian Johnson laugh.
Yeah. Oh boy.
That's my prediction. That's Shin.
Okay. Interesting. What do you think she'll end up doing in season 2?
Oh,
I mean, like, because she clearly joined those scavengers or whatever those red Huskin like folks.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do on that planet. Honestly,
maybe she'll commune with Balin. I mean, they're both still on the same planet. Maybe they will still reconnect, or
I don't know.
For
them to have separated.
That's a big deal.
For them to have separated like they do, it has to be an extended separation. So,
I recall when I was watching last night. I don't know why. I guess maybe I thought of this before, but it was more a feeling as I watched it last night. So Shin, she's approximately, I think, 20 or so.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, she doesn't go back to the Clone Wars. Like, she wasn't born during,
Right.
the rise of the Empire of the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
But I was almost thinking, like, is she Balin's daughter that he just raised as a force sensitive apprentice? Um, I mean, you never know. It could be, as we learn more about her and him, maybe it was something like that. And
Maybe, yeah. We might get
I mean,
might get flashbacks or
you never know.
stuff. Actually, I was thinking it would be interesting if there was flashbacks to Thrawn stuff.
From like when he was either in the Chiss
Yeah,
Empire
and the
or
Ascendancy or
yeah,
stuff like that. But
fighting the Grisk.
right, yeah, because they're coming. They're going to be in the Rain movie.
They're coming.
Charmin toilet paper is going to put him in the movie.
Oh man, yeah. Talk about shooting down theories for our second half of Ahsoka.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, the long game, the Disney long game, the Grisk are coming.
The ultimate long game.
No, they're not coming. I think that's firmly, and that is the species from the High Republic. It is what I initially thought. That's all part of the High Republic. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with Shin. Because it is a question mark, just like Balin. So
I don't know. They'll skirmish. Balin's gonna find his ultimate power with the Mortis gods and stuff, the world between worlds and all that stuff. And then Shin's probably gonna join up with. She's gonna go good.
She's gonna get redeemed. That's what I was thinking.
She's gonna go good. And she's
Her
gonna
and
join
Sabine will
up.
hug.
Yeah.
Munch carpet.
There'll be some
And then
some Star Wars erotic fiction written about them.
oh yeah.
And
Kyle Katarn back to take.
and then they'll team up to fight Balin, and they'll defeat Balin, and then Ezra will call the whales, and then the whales will take them to the galaxy directly to Dathomir.
It's interesting that Thrawn went to Dathomir. Like, of all the places, I really hadn't considered that, and it's interesting that we're combining the courtship of Princess Leia now with the Thrawn trilogy.
Yeah, I know.
Isn't that weird?
I'm waiting for Tenel Ka to show up.
I know.
The and then it'll just be interesting to see the split of how much is focused on Peridia and how much is focused on the main galaxy.
Yeah.
And what that split's going to be and who's going to show up, right? Because that
Zeb, we never saw Zeb.
Yeah.
Like I thought we might.
Yeah.
We got to get the whole Rebels crew together.
Probably that's going to, that's going to
That'll
happen.
be a season 2 thing.
Yeah.
Pelion.
Yeah. Got to have Pelion. I mean, he was in the Shadow Council, so
yes.
It might mostly be remnant stuff, which would be interesting. Hux's dad.
Yes.
What's his face? Hux.
Right. Who isn't that Domhnall Gleeson's? Was it his brother? It's his actual family relation playing the character.
Oh, really?
Gleeson's. Yeah,
Oh.
and that's partly why they cast him. I think because it was like an easy thing.
So we might figure out, what the Project Necromancer is and stuff, which could be related. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of necromancy going on. There's Project Necromancer,
I know, raising the dead. The dead speak.
And like, obviously there's probably
Fortnite.
like a little bit different, like, when you've got plenty of time and concentration, you can create a zombie trooper that's a lot better than what they were able to create on the fly.
That's what I was almost thinking. Like maybe the ones at Peridia were like the quote unquote prototypes that were just awful, with the resources they had. And
it's probably just quick and dirty. They just didn't have the
ones
time.
in the containers are the what will become the good things once they get to Dathomir and they have the right technology.
Yeah, like
magic.
Merrick, right? That was was it Merrick?
Marok, however you say it.
Obviously that's like a prime one. So it could be like everything in those
yes.
in those cylinders or whatever.
Right. It's like a
Merricks.
potential inquisitor.
Yeah, or a potential whatever they're called from Jedi Outcast.
Reborn.
Reborn, yeah, those guys.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe it will be Reborn. Let's
And then
tie in
and then
some Jedi
so
Outcast
that's my
continuity.
prediction. Kyle Katarn will show up,
Hmm. Oh
and
man,
it'll
if
be a bunch
only
of Reborn.
Corrin, Corrin and Kyle.
Everybody pops out of those cylinders, and they got those orange and purple and red like little hoods,
Yep, yep,
jumping around with a lightsaber.
exactly. And then Lando shows up, and you take Lady Luck to Bespin.
Lady Luck.
He'll be with Tendra.
Uh-huh.
Oh wait, that was the old continuity. Never mind.
Yeah. Well, why not? Why not bring her back? Right?
I know, right?
They got to have a daughter,
Everyone's
right? That or is
right.
implied, right? That
And,
one chick
and that
was his
would
daughter.
it was implied, but they confirmed it's not in I don't know if it was the visual guide. There was some source recently that I can't remember what it was, but they confirmed it was not. But it was clear that in the movie they were hinting.
Well, it was clear that they're hinting, but like I feel like if they were, it would have to be like they would have to kind of address that, right? You can't just hint at something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Getting into Rise of Skywalker annoyances on the side here.
We won't get into
that. Okay, so when do you think season 2 will come out?
Oh, I have no effing idea.
These days, right?
I guess it's full tilt now. They don't have to worry about COVID and stuff as far as filming. So
and beyond that, the writer's strike is over.
Right. Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I think that's what really jacked up Andor supposedly getting pushed to 2025.
Yeah.
At least that's the rumor. And then even Skeleton Crew and Acolyte because Acolyte was also rumored to come out last year. And
I feel like it has to be. I feel like it has to be 2025. Otherwise, it's too long. It's way too long. If it's 2026.
The average now, if you look at all these series, at least the ones that are like made on the volume and kind of smaller, they seem to be about every 2 years.
Yeah.
I think the only exception to that was season 1 and 2 of Mando, which we got 1 year apart.
Yeah.
But I think everything else has been about 2 years apart.
Should always be 1 year apart, maybe a year and a half. But
exactly.
I need this to wrap up before I'm 50. You know what I mean?
Just seriously. Now, no, I know what you mean too, because dude, if Andor comes out in 2025, that's 3 years after season 1, dude, in 2022. That's
you got to strike when the iron's hot, man.
And that's what I'm saying. I feel like Andor did kind of make a splash as far as the fandom, but it's like there was already people that are like, I don't care about Cassian. And it's like, those are the people you need to care about Cassian. So,
well, it's like,
anyway.
I already feel like the wait between the last season and the coming up final season of Stranger Things is taking way too long.
That's a show that really fucking milks its time in between, but at least it's still popular as far as pop culture, so they can just kind of keep,
Yeah, they don't have Star Wars problems.
No,
they're not pissing off the fan base.
Right. I know what you mean though, because when there is a long wait, I get like, I don't know, I don't get mad, but it's just like, dude, come on. And I get it. These are expensive. It's like making like 6 movies all at once.
Listen,
I understand.
One of my complaints about Disney is that when you watch a show from Netflix or Apple Plus or whatever, those all feel like movies, like you're watching a movie in a series format. Disney is not spending that kind of money and time on most of their stuff. Andor is the exception.
Was an exception.
That is the exception, but everything else, it's the stuff shot on the volume. It's not bad, but it's definitely not cinematic.
I agree. I think I will say season 3 of Mandalorian, because they visited more planets and they did more things, I think that reached the cinematic level as far as visuals, but that's also another kind of exception in a lot of ways. But yeah, overall you're correct.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to go on about the wrap up of Ahsoka?
I don't think I have any other predictions. All my real predictions and or joke predictions have been made. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. So when we do another podcast, maybe we'll talk. I don't know what show is going to come up next. Maybe The Acolyte, maybe Skeleton Crew. But in addition to covering those things, I definitely want to delve more into book stuff because, man, we are overdue on like just talking about a book. or something like that.
Well, I have oh, what is that? What was that? What was that
Thrawn
book?
Alliances.
No, 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 no. Well, yeah, we do got to read all those books, but no, that remember when it's on my shelf over here. That uh that book that came out. It was like um the unpublished
Heart of the Jedi.
legacy book. Is that what it was? Heart
Yeah,
of the Jedi? Yeah.
yeah,
I'm reaching for it right now.
yeah. The one
Trying
that
to bust
was
through anything.
written by
Yeah, Heart of the
Kenneth
Jedi.
C. Flint.
Yes, I have it right here. Yes, I have my copy that I bought before they pulled it.
Right.
Looks
I still
good.
got mine.
Still got Yeah.
I
Oh,
know
well.
it's rare now. I haven't checked the latest eBay
I
prices.
know, right?
I
Gotta
should.
check. I mean, I never sell my copy, but I mean,
I don't think I'll sell mine, but
unless it's like
if
a
it was
million
going for
bucks,
like
but
a, yeah, I was gonna say, maybe a few $100s, maybe no, probably not even then.
yeah. Oh wow, look at this. Mint condition Legends novel. Are people really? Nobody's really buying it for
Well, you
$500,
got to
are
look at
they?
the sold
Yeah,
prices.
yeah.
You got to go through the thing, but no, it's a hot ticket. I will say that
Well,
because
the other thing I got to look up is I got to get my hands on some of those um what were they the NFT pages from the Return of the Jedi
oh, the James Caan
novelization,
ones.
the James Caan NFTs. I wonder what those
I,
are at right now.
I haven't heard any much about NFTs in a while. I
I
think
think
hopefully they're
I
fading a
think
little bit.
everybody figured out that it was not that what Khan was doing was a scam, but just
No,
NFTs in general are not worth
it caught up.
anything.
Well, the thing was just like crypto and some other things. It caught up naive and innocent people with good intentions that were thinking, this is good, and then it just kind of blew out of proportion.
Yeah.
But anyway, um, okay, so I think we covered Ahsoka pretty
Oh,
good here.
there was one sold for $120,
Oh, wow.
and another one's for 70. So,
Whew,
with
man.
$32 shipping. So that's like,
Ooh,
man,
UK
what are they?
maybe.
Oh, from
Japan.
Italy. From Italy.
Oh,
Yes.
Italy. And we paid what, roughly $10, maybe with shipping or on
Something
Amazon.
like that.
It was
Yeah.
cheap. It was pretty cheap, but they yanked it within a few days or a week or so because I
I
know I
know.
got mine like right away because
Yeah.
I knew it was gonna happen with Disney and everything. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Also, you can't just slap the Star Wars thing on a book and print it like that logo with like a trademark and everything. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking, honestly, but
It is very, aside from, it doesn't have like the sort of bumped uh, logo on the front.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
the only thing that's missing. But other than that, I mean, it looks really
It's
good.
pretty. It's an interesting facsimile of a Bantam era '90s
I
Star
mean,
Wars novel.
it is exactly. It's a really good. It's a good. Um, I don't know how to say it. It's good at what it is, which is something that looks good on the shelf, next to all the
Yes,
other books.
I put it right after the Truce at Bakura, which is
I don't know why
what
that was
is.
so hard to say, but
It was meant to be the sequel to Truce. Well, not to Truce at Bakura, but it comes in the timeline after
right,
Truce at Bakura, about a few days later.
right.
So, yeah, no, maybe we'll get around to reading the Heart of the Jedi
Yeah. Anyway,
this year in
that was a
2024.
joke. That was a joke. Yeah, there's plenty of stuff to read. It's just, especially having a 1-year-old, it is incredibly hard
Yeah.
to carve out the time
Ugh,
to
yeah, I
do
know.
anything on your own, especially
I
something
know.
as intensive as reading a book.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Between family and living situations and recording schedules and time, there's plus us just being old. There's just all kinds of things. But yeah, I'm glad we were able to crank this out. It was fun to rewatch Ahsoka again yesterday and have it all fresh in my mind. And I really enjoyed it again, even though it still has slow parts. There's still some very slow, kind of like, whatever. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I think Filoni did a great job, and I'm looking forward to season two.
yeah, if they had just started with this kind of stuff, and nobody'd be complaining. Especially, I mean, I don't want to,
How dare you crap on the
beat
Mandalorian?
the dead horse. Well, no, I don't mean that. Just like
Oh, I
just
mean the sequels.
well, yeah. I mean, I meant more like adapt legend stuff, or just lift from, right. Don't adapt, but just
All
lift
right, we're
characters and
beating
stuff.
we're
Yeah, I know,
beating the
I know, I
bantha. It's
know.
beating the bantha. All right, let's wrap this up. Um, but yeah, you and I we're gonna be playing Jedi Survivor pretty soon. I was also gonna throw that
If I
in
can
there.
ever get through the
You gotta beat Fallen Order.
replaying, well, no, I have to replay
Yes.
Outcast still.
There's Outcasts coming on the channel. More of that. We've already got what 2 commentaries done recently,
Yes.
at least 2, and then we're just going to be playing Fallen Order. Well, you're going to be playing Fallen Order. I replayed it, and then we're both going to play Survivor, and we'll probably talk about it. I don't know if
Yeah.
we're going to do videos, but we're at least going to share our thoughts on
I think
those
there's
games.
been plenty of people that have played and
Yeah.
streamed those
Right,
games.
they've already
so,
done all that. But
yeah.
but if you and I talk about it, at least we'll cover the more nitty gritty expanded universe references that make their way into those.
Well, and I'm
games.
kind of interested to find out what my opinion will be about it, because I recognize that I am the Siskel to your Ebert in regards to
Right.
the Disney, Star Wars sequel stuff. You're a little bit
by and large,
more forgiving, and I am a little bit less forgiving
yeah,
when it comes to this
because
stuff.
you
So
live on crate,
right. It's salty.
where it's salty.
It's salty. It's salt.
That's how you got all the white in your hair. It's
Oh
just
my
the salt from crate.
Yep. Thanks for pointing that out.
Right.
So I'm anxious to see how it is and how I
Mhm.
feel about those games, because I've heard nothing but good things about the story and everything. So
I was a little unsure myself because I mean I enjoyed Battlefront 1 and 2, the reboots, and I know they had a lot of naysayers. I enjoyed those games for what they were, so I didn't have a horribly bad opinion of EA or anything. But Fallen Order blew my mind with how fun it was. It was a return to the Dark Forces, Force Unleashed, first-person adventure game kind of thing.
Mhm.
So, anyway, that'll be coming down the pipeline. Conversation about it, if nothing else, possibly videos. And Outcast is around the corner.
Yep.
So, those will be coming. I think that's about it. So remember, if anyone wants to listen to more episodes of Star Wars Unfiltered, we are on YouTube, where this is being displayed right now, and then reach out to us on Facebook and Instagram. Just look up Star Wars Unfiltered. And any questions or comments, we'd love to take them, because no one sends them, and that's okay. So until next time, everyone, take care, and may the salt be with you.
good night.